Good morning, everybody. My name is Andrew Garner from Evosys. I just want to say hello to everyone so you can all see me this morning. And welcome to this latest webinar. This is the second webinar we've run on CX, Oracle CX. So we're delighted to be joined with the Open University today. I'm going to do a quick introduction and I'm going to introduce to my colleagues who are going to be supporting me and indeed doing most of the work actually through this webinar. We hope you have a good time. We hope you get some value out of it. There's plenty of opportunity to ask questions through the console that you have available to you, and we'll address those as we come to the end. Some introductions. So you've heard of me. I'm going to ask Liz if she will take herself off mute and put a camera on and come say hello to everyone, because Liz is doing the majority of the work today, and my colleague Oracle, Phil, who do the same. Liz, do you want to go first?
Yes, hello everyone. Thanks very much for taking the time out to come and join us today. As Andy says, I do hope you get some value from this. And if anyone wants to reach out to me via LinkedIn after, please feel free to do that. Do you want me to say any more now, Andy, or?
No, that's fine. Liz, we'll come to you in a sec if that's okay.
Yep, sure. Lovely.
Phil?
Okay, so thank you, Liz and Andy. Good morning. My name's Phil Summons. I've been with Oracle for quite a long time now. I've only been involved with the higher education sector for probably about a year, but I must say I'm really enjoying it. I think it's a very vibrant environment and there's such a lot going on in these interesting times. But the way people are looking forward, I think, is really, really good and encouraging. So I'll just be doing a couple of slides about Oracle at a very high level, nothing to get you too bored. And then as Andy says, the real work will be done by Liz.
Fabulous, thanks guys. So this is kind of the agenda that everybody signed up to, and we're going to kind of stick to this as best we can. So there's a couple of minutes of myself and Phil just doing the introductions. Obviously we're about 3 or 4 minutes into that already, and then Paul Liz is going to have the lion's share, but actually that's quite right, because what they're doing at the Open University is really interesting, and it's great that the Open University and Liz have agreed to share this with the sector. We encourage you all to build on this. You know, we are recording this webinar and will be available through an on-demand service if people want to share it with their colleagues and their friends at a later date. And then we'll have some questions if we've got any when we get to the end. And then we hope to see you again on the next set of webinars, which will probably be in the new year now, where we go a little bit further into the Oracle CX proposition. I'm really going to flit through this slide very quickly because nobody's really here to hear about Evosys, but basically I head the higher education division in Evosys in the UK, so I'm responsible for our relationships with the sector and for bringing Evosys into the sector. We are a large Oracle house. We do cover the full stack from the Oracle solution, and I think the most important thing for any existing Oracle users out there is we have a really exciting next generation managed support offering that includes an analytics dashboard to investigate how your system works. But we're not here to talk about that. Phil?
Okay, good morning, everybody. As I mentioned, Oracle has a very large portfolio of integrated applications that are very well suited to the higher education marketplace. We go all the way from ERP and HCM, all of the back office stuff, which is very important. But today we're going to be looking at the more forward-facing piece. So what information can be provided to the internal agents within Open University. Knowledge management is the concentration for today, but that's just one part of the total CX service. So we go all the way from service centers around to policy advice. And that encompasses all of the future-looking things that are important to a lot of people now. So you've got things like chatbots, Internet of Things, artificial intelligence. That's the way that the industry is going, and that's the way that Oracle is positioning its portfolio within the higher education marketplace, say integrated into the rest of the back office. So next slide, please, Andy. So this is the huge CX portfolio that Oracle has. I won't be going into this in any detail today. Knowledge is the interesting part that Liz is going to talk about. And I say it does integrate with all of the things that everybody's looking for: self-service, digital assistants, chatbots, but also guided resolutions, integration with telephony. And our previous seminar that we ran a few weeks ago was around field service. So if somebody on a campus, student or lecturer, someone from staff says, you know, something's not working, we need to get it fixed, you've then got to have an entry into that system to fix it, and then the complete method for doing so and reporting back. So that was the previous one. That is available on Catch Up, which we can provide. Today is all about knowledge, and for that I won't steal any of Liz's thunder. I will pass over to Liz. Oracle works very closely with the Open University. We're proud to say we're a very strategic partner of theirs, and delighted that they're pleased to share their experiences with you today. So that's the end from me.
That's great. Thanks very much, Phil. Okay, so I briefly introduced myself, but just to let you know, at the Open University, I've been at the Open University for 12 years now. 5 of those years, the last 5 years, has started my journey with knowledge management and Oracle Service Cloud. Just a little bit about the Open University. You can find this on our website, but the Open University has been going now for over 50 years. We're a supported distance learning organisation. So we don't tend to have students on campus or anything like that, but we have, you know, associate lecturers that support our students on their courses, and staff that do that throughout the university. We're based worldwide. In the UK, we have campuses really in Milton Keynes, in Manchester, and in Nottingham. And essentially, for the last 5 years, we've been using Oracle Service Cloud to support our frontline staff to support our students. So it's not something that the students will see themselves, but the conversations that we have constantly, our staff are using what we call KMS, Oracle Service Cloud, our knowledge management system, to support them. And they could be at any point in their journey, from just inquiring about a course or a qualification, or they could have graduated and they're looking to go on to higher level study. So the range of information that our staff need to be able to access, the stuff that they need to know in their head so they can support students at any stage of their journey, is actually quite breathtaking. And this is where Oracle Service Cloud has made a big impact for the university since we introduced it in October 2015. We have previously had different systems to support people with knowledge. I think just as time goes on, you go on to bigger and better things, and it's had a lot of success. We grew the user base from in 2015, when it was around 690 people, to currently where it stands that we have 2,219 people that have access to this system. It's predominantly used by our frontline staff who support those students in those conversations that they have. We support, this is not necessarily us, but the university overall has around 168,000 students studying across the world. And in the knowledge management system that we use, we have almost 3,000 pages of content. And since we've been live, we've had almost 9,000 pieces of feedback from our users. Okay, so just to cover off what I'm going to demonstrate for you today. So I'm going to show you really how we use the out-of-the-box functionality. I think anyone that uses Service Cloud will configure it or possibly customize it for their own purposes. So I'll show you how we use the out-of-the-box functionality. We'll also, I'll also go through how we've configured it for our own needs. And then I'll touch before we end on how we use it innovatively in different ways to support us with our needs and what our plans are. So that's about that for now. Any questions that you do have, we will have time at the end. So if you want to pop them in the questions box there, then we'll pick those up after. Okay, thank you. And I hope you do get some value out of what I'm showing you today. So just to check that you can see our version of Oracle Service Cloud, you should see knowledge management and our system here. Is that correct?
Yes, we can.
Brilliant, fantastic, thank you very much. So what I'm going to show you here is our homepage. quite straightforward really, but this is where we categorize all our content. So what you can see is our top level categories in the dark blue, so the frequently used links, the enrolment and fees, etc., disabled students, and we tend to find that our new staff use categories more than our established staff. Most people will just go straight to the search box here to put in the words that they want to find some information. So this is all our categories, and we can drill down further within these categories as well. And I'm just going to demonstrate. I will find some content. So if we were dealing with a new inquirer, for example, we would search new inquirer, and then the top result here is a piece of content called New Inquirer Conversations. Now, this was a piece of content that we designed for our new staff coming out of training. When staff join us, they have to learn a lot of information, they have to learn a lot of systems, and we're committed to the quality of service that we provide to students. So this piece of content was particularly designed to support those new students, or our new staff, sorry, to support our new students, to make sure that the conversation really carried on whilst they were supporting them with their inquiries, because we want to support students to reach informed decisions about their study, and there's quite a lot involved in that to ensure that that we're supporting them to do that. So what you can see here is what we call the contents widget. And this essentially is all the sort of headings that we have where we can jump to certain parts of this content. So you might just want to have one particular part in that conversation, or you might want more. So for example, I am just going to scroll on this occasion rather than choose any particular heading. But it gives a bit of an introduction here to the new staff, and it's supporting them when they're coming out of training onto the floor to have the conversations live with our students. And for our information, advice and guidance, we use something called the diamond model, and that's really about how we open up the conversation with the student and then how we close it down at the end to support those informed decisions. And when people are new and they have to navigate lots of systems, it's quite important to for them not to have to to go off the page, go onto other pages all the time until they get used to it. So we designed this content really around not having to go to different pages throughout, and it's just to use this pop-up. Once you hover over it, it would give you key information around our diamond model as we're having a conversation with a student. So as I go through that, now quite often people who are new to the university, there's a lot for them to take in. And we have lots of resources that we can share with those students that are all really kept in this page, so we can signpost people to them. So for example, we have a range of courses on a platform called Open Learn, and that's where you'll find a lot of extracts from university courses, and it helps people get an idea of what they're going to be facing. So we have links to that platform. We also have links to a course to help them establish whether distance learning is for them and what to expect, so they can do some of that work before they decide to invest in study with the Open University. We also have a range of how-to videos, so we embed videos either in the knowledge management system itself, or that we can link to them where they're housed in other parts of the university. And on our main website for students, we have a range of videos that can explain in detail some of the more tricky elements of registering with the university and sorting out their funding and so on and so forth. So we can direct students to those videos and we can explain what they can find there. So this is just an example of some of the content and the links that we provide in that content to support those conversations with our students. And I think it's fair to say that at the university, we probably use it slightly differently than it was originally intended. So our questions, our answers, our content tends to be, in some cases, quite lengthy. So, we can really support our staff in that way by having things like the contents widget for them to navigate to. So I'm just going to go back up to the top. I don't want to scroll too much. And just to show you really, one of the key things for having Service Cloud is we wanted to give our staff a voice so that they could feed back on the content that was being designed to help them have conversations. So the out-of-the-box solution does have a star rating function, but what we wanted to make sure, because of our lengthier answers, is that we wanted to create this sticky nav that you can see here. So rather than have it at the end of a page, and some of our pages are quite long, we wanted it to be visible. So this is where we've kind of customized Service Cloud to support our needs specifically. So what can happen in this sticky nav? People can add certain content to their favorites. So particularly if they find something tricky, they might want to favorite that, and they will draw on that content quite often. And then on the right hand side, this is where they can rate the content. So if they give it, say, 5 stars, they will have a pop-up box that appears here, and then they can provide their verbatim feedback to support the rating that they've given. So again, we try and support our staff to provide really detailed, specific feedback, and we have guidance in our content pages within the knowledge management system in order for them to do that. So they can provide their feedback and just put in test and submit it, and then that's linked directly to the person, to the subject matter expert that owns that content. Now, at the Open University, we have over 37-ish people that write directly into the back end of the system. And they're subject matter experts from all over the university who own those facts to ensure that, you know, we have integrity, all the content is up to date, that kind of thing. So once that feedback has whizzed its way over to the person that owns it, to our subject matter expert, it kicks off a dialogue. And I'm just going to go into this next page here called My Stuff. And this is where their voice is really heard. So the person will review their feedback and make a decision. So they'll say, oh, yes, of course, if that's not clear, let's make it as clear as we possibly can. Or there might be some missing information, but they'll review it and they'll enter into a conversation with them. So sometimes that might be, we need more information from you because I'm not quite sure what you're saying. And what you'll see here, you can't see any at the moment, but as that conversation takes place, there's different statuses that will appear to show the person who's provided that feedback where we are at with dealing with that feedback. So it might say investigating, or further information is required, etc., etc. And throughout its journey, people will be updated, and they will see a pink bubble similar to the one you can see here, but it will be over their My Stuff. And again, that's another bit of customization that we've used to alert people that there's something for them to read. So rather than having to rely on them to check every day, we alert them when there's something to see. So if there was something there, they would get the pink bubble and it would direct them to that feedback. And then eventually, once it's been dealt with, it will be set to complete. And that's really, I would say, the start of our knowledge management, true knowledge management journey, where we're looking at all the people that have this knowledge and have experience of using all the information, and how we use that and leverage that to the greater good. So this is just one small part of that, them raising their feedback and giving additional information that we can then validate and update the system for. So that's really My Stuff. It has the favourites that people favourite. It has the feedback journey in there. And then our announcements page, this again is something that we've configured, or we added when we started our journey. Because information changes all the time, as I'm sure any university will find that, the information will change all the time, and sometimes we have to rely on our tacit knowledge to support a student, because it wouldn't be feasible to search for every last piece of information in here. So this is a way of balancing what people would use, their tacit knowledge, and making sure that they're using the most up-to-date information as the picture emerges or changes. So the announcements are put up there to say something has changed and it's important that you go and update your knowledge, or something is completely new, and it alerts the user's attention to go and read it. Now, because of the role that I have, I'm not on a frontline role. You probably see I don't really read mine very often, but there's currently 175 there for me to read. But they literally go into that announcement and it will link them to the established content where appropriate as well. You can also search within the announcement specifically, and again, they kind of disappear when this will disappear once they've read that announcement. So going back to feedback, so yes, we can feedback on specific pages that exist, but if there is no information in there that relates to something that a user would say, there's no information on this particular topic, and it's really important that we have that to support our students, then they can use the feedback page to provide details of that, and then attach any documents to support that information. And again, my team will look after that and route it to the person who will own those facts, the subject matter expert. So if I just go back to our home page here, the system itself is a learning system. So as users are searching for things and selecting results, they start to change this picture, the most popular results. So as the university goes through its calendar year, registration will typically open in March, and people will start to inquire, and then up to kind of October time, when we have to make sure that everyone's registered to start their courses, September, October time. Obviously, there's a calendar of events that go on, exams and the like, throughout the year. So as that calendar emerges, then the information here will change, and you can see at the moment what our most popular results are. When we went into lockdown early in March and it changed, the coronavirus changed things for most people, really, most organisations. But for the university, we realised that it was changing our existing processes all the time. So we had to work collectively together to make sure that we could provide that information as the picture was changing. So I'm just going to search coronavirus here. Okay, and this is one of the functions that we can use within the system, is the recommended results. And this really sets the information relevant to that search right at the top of the page. So you can see here the coronavirus hub is the recommended results. And this really, as the picture was changing, we needed to say a lot of the content may not be up to date now. So here's the most up to date information as that picture changes. And then it gives all the users the most up to date information, and then we'll link out to the established content as well. And all the established content we have updated using something called a variable, where it just gives a message to say something in this page might not be up to date, just to warn them. So we created this coronavirus hub for this very particular reason, to show that emerging picture. So I'm just going to go over here now in the most popular results and show some other functionality, which is called the guided assistance. And guided assistance is really decision tree content. So it's where something might be particularly complex, and where there may be different variations or different scenarios around that information that changes the picture slightly. So we use the guided assist function for quite a lot of things in the university that are very complex. And one such example is the Open University Student Budget Account. So for students that are self-funding, we have a loan product. And as such, we are governed by the legislation for the Financial Conduct Authority. And there are specific things we need to say to ensure that we are introducing that product correctly and appropriately in light of all the payment methods that could be available to students. So because of that, we developed a page to take account of all the different scenarios that could happen. So for example, will be contacted by telephone or email, so that select the appropriate thing. Are they dealing with an undergraduate or a postgraduate module, because funding and methods of payment, etc., will change based on the type of qualification they're studying. And then it's a case of, does the student want to hear all about the payment methods, or have they specifically inquired about the Open University Student Budget Account? And what it does, it just takes you through everything, all the things that we need to take account of before we can give information that we are obliged to do. So it takes us down. So here we've got which option do they want to discuss. So let's just say here they want to discuss USB specifically. Then we'd click on that, and then here's some script that we need to quote verbatim, because that's what's required of us. And we'll go through that, and that's just a way to support those conversations being more effective. So that's kind of the guided assistance functionality that we use. Another thing that we use, that we have introduced, is set text. And again, this is us using Oracle Service Cloud inventively, really. And what we find, as with most universities, there'll be lots of inquiries throughout the year, but particularly at times for admissions and so on. And rather than be inefficient and type all the responses out for our students time after time after time, we have set up some predetermined text, if you like, around those regular common inquiries that we deal with. And we've created an area of Service Cloud to house them. So within this section here, it isn't the evergreen content that's in the other part of the system. This is really the predetermined text to support people. And they can search by topic. So some of these topics might be familiar, some might not be to our colleagues in higher education, but they can either search by topic, select by topic, search in here, or they can just, have a look and decide what they want. So I'm just going to pick, let's go to inquirers. So here we go. Here's all our set text that we have for our brand new inquirers. And some of the functionality that we use here is this hover over function, because we try and make the titles of our content very, very clear, but where it's not, they can just have a glance. Is that the text I'm looking for? Yes, it is. Brilliant. So they will click into it, and then they'll find the text here. And then this function here, this pink button, they can click on this and paste this text into our customer relationship management system that will respond to students' emails and so on and so forth. So that's one of the ways that we've actually used Service Cloud. And there's all sorts of things that the possibilities are endless, really. I suppose the most inventive way that we have started to use Oracle Service Cloud, and I don't really have anything to show you in this respect, but such as the feedback. So when people provide feedback and we enter into this discussion, what kind of sits behind this is almost like an IT help desk functionality, a ticketing system, where the feedback comes in, somebody looks at it, responds to it, and then closes that ticket out. And for us at the university, certainly in my team, our work comes from all over the place. So it can come from our subject matter experts, it can come from someone walking by a desk, dropping an email to us, phoning us up, it can come through feedback from the system itself. And really, we needed a way of tracking that work and making sure that we could prioritize it, log it, make sure for specific tasks that we had all those steps that we needed to make sure that things were done thoroughly. So we have created something that we've called Workscape. So my brilliant senior administrator, Robin, who works in my team, has devised all the technical side of this. But essentially, we'll be using Oracle Service Cloud to track all the work. So anything that comes into us, we will open it as an incident. And this is just within our team, not for the wider user base. And some of those tasks that we create, we have very specific steps and they will be automated. So a piece of work comes in, it might be about content design. It would give us a set of steps that we need to go through in order to deliver that piece of work. And then also we can time that piece of work and we can record how long things take us to action so that we can resource and plan effectively. And also we can assign tasks to different users within the university as well. So that's something that's going to come in by the end of the year, and I'm hoping it's going to be life-changing, certainly for me as the manager of that team as well. So that's how we are using, how that picture emerges really, and how we make sure it fits our specific needs. And that will give us the information we need to resource our team more effectively. So kind of in a nutshell, that's really how we've been using the system. One of the key things that we've spent a lot of time on this year is the analytics side. Now, Oracle Service Cloud, I think I'm right in saying, comes with about 500 out-of-the-box reports. So it tells you lots and lots of stuff. And kind of we've gone on this journey where we've used some of these reports for a long time, but we'd never really developed our user stories around what data do we really need and what data do our colleagues across the university need. So we done quite a huge piece of work on this where we have developed those user stories. We have then linked to, again, my experts, Robin in my team. He has kind of come up with a form that is aimed at our front end users or people that aren't, the technical experts in the system, and they can fill in their requirements, and then that's linked to the report definitions in the back end. So the tables that we need to use, how is data retained or purged, everything is kind of linked very, very neatly together so that we can produce the analytics that we need to support the university and support the ongoing development of our knowledge management within the university. So we've probably got about 20 reports that we're in the process of building, and we're working with our colleagues in the university as well, from our academic services MI team to support that. And that really is going to shed more light on the quality of our content, how the system works, have we fully optimized the search capability within the system? That's the kind of journey that we're on now. So again, we're going to have that suite of analytics very soon, which I'm extremely excited about. But I think that's probably everything on my list that I wanted to share. So I think that's me done.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you very much. If I just bring this back to me for a second. Liz, that was a really good run through of how you guys are using this stuff and how it contextualizes for the service that you run. We've seen quite a lot of information and a lot of really good examples from what you've shown. So I think the best thing to do now is ask people if they have any questions or they want to follow up on any points with you. If they can go into their console and where there's a question box, just start typing in the question. I know this takes a couple of minutes for people to kind of plow it through, and then we can take any questions as they come in. I think can I be cheeky? Can I ask a question?
Of course.
How many inquiries are you dealing with? Because you mentioned you've got them coming in from various sources. How many of them do you and your team deal with?
So when you say inquiries, do you mean inquiries from our students or inquiries from our sort of staff or colleagues internally?
Colleagues internally.
Well, in terms of the feedback, so I think I gave on the initial slide that the feedback, individual pieces of feedback is getting up to 9,000 now. But I suppose when I was explaining about how the work comes in, that could be anything to do with the roles that we do. So not necessarily about the content. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's system functionality. And again, that's very different to the number of inquiries that our frontline staff take from our students. So just wanted to kind of clarify.
Okay. First other question has come in. How much do you proactively review the content or is most of the change updates you receive from elsewhere?
Oh, that's such a good question, and this is kind of one of the journeys that we've been on also. When I'm going to call it KMS, that's what we call it for our system, knowledge management system. When that first came, when we first acquired this system in 2015, we had different roles in mind for people writing content. And at that time, essentially, it was decided that all the content really would come in under the control of the subject matter expert. So typically, we don't have a content lifecycle built into our knowledge management system. It has workflows, it has the capability to do that, but we don't currently have that. That's going to change early next year. As I've devised a content lifecycle that we need to follow and work with our subject matter experts to put in place. So at the moment, content will get updated. Sometimes it's updated when something happens, where something changes, and sometimes the content is not updated at all, so it would be out of date in the system. And this is where we rely on, bringing this content lifecycle in to ensure that that happens. So I would say content does get updated, but at the moment there are no strong controls around that. But as I say, that's going to change.
Do you have a process before you publish a bit of knowledge management internally? Is there a kind of 2-point sign-off process or something?
Again, this will be part of the new strategy that we're putting in place, because at the moment it is very much based on the subject matter expert who writes that content and then publishes it. And this is where we rely on people to feedback if it's not helping them to support students, and our frontline staff do tell us that. But in the new way of working, that process there'll be more of a pair writing approach to content that happens. Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Did you consider using OSC for dealing with your inquiries? Was the current system already in place?
So inquiries from our students
Doesn't say.
Okay, so let me answer it. So there was a desire, if it's about using it for our students to self-serve effectively, then I think there was some kind of desire that when this system came into place, the director of operations was very much keen on having a system that helped support those students. But at the university, this is the staff-facing system. There are other systems, one that we call the Help Centre, for example, that supports students directly. So the students will go into the Help Centre and they'll find information in a very similar way, so that we have a different knowledge management system. I think moving forward, it's fair to say there's a desire within the university to kind of bring quite a few of those platforms together to then support staff internally and students externally, but on that same system. Hopefully that answers that question. Thank you for that question.
Thanks. Don't think we've got any other questions at the moment. We'll just give people another minute or so to type some stuff in. Phil, have you got anything to add at the moment?
Sorry, just coming off mute. I think that was a very, very good overview, Liz, and there's quite a lot of detail at the same time in this. So I just really wanted to say thank you very much indeed. That's been very well appreciated, both I think by ourselves, but also the guys in the audience. We would like to sort of revisit this, as we said. It is recorded. We would like to rerun it perhaps at some point in the new year, and perhaps ask you to come in as a question answerer at the end. And that would be very well received, I think. So yes, all I can say is thank you very much indeed, much appreciated.
You're very welcome.
Another couple of questions come in for you, Liz. You're popular. How many staff are using the system? Sorry, you may have already said this.
Oh, okay. So yes, it was on the first slide. So we have 2,219 users, but that's people that have access. So I would imagine people that actively use it, probably around just over half of that are using it constantly, should I say. Yeah.
And another one just come in, how user-friendly is the system? I guess you need to take that from perspective of both your team who actually have to manage it and people who actually have to use it and interact with it. I'm guessing that sort of volume of users kind of tells you the answer really, but
Yeah, it's I think when any new system is introduced, sometimes, you know, it takes a while for people to engage and adapt, but it really did take off. It's very user friendly. So if you look at it from a front end perspective, it's extremely user friendly. You know, we talk to our new staff all the time to say how user friendly is it for you, and then obviously our established staff as well to find out those differences. But yeah, it's extremely popular within the university, and I'm not just saying that because, you know, we use it, but yeah, we get a lot of engagement with it. So from a back end perspective, again, very, very similar. I would say there's always some challenges in some space, but I think that would be the same for any system. But overall, extremely user friendly. Yeah.
thank you. Okay, I think that the flow of questions has slowed down a little bit. So I will just echo what Phil has said. Very informative. Thank you very much for taking the time to do the preparation for us and to show us around your system. Really appreciate that, and I think everyone who's joined us will do. Just kind of for me, really, if there's anything else anybody wants, as Liz has kindly made the offer to speak to people, we're more than happy to facilitate that. As a, I'm going to say direct engagement, Liz, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely. I have to say it's very difficult when you prepare something, you know, you live this stuff every day, and it sometimes is very difficult to pitch it at the right level. So if anything hasn't made sense or you want further information on what I've shown today, as I say, I am on LinkedIn. Please feel free to drop me a message or to connect with me. I'd be really happy to do that.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. I think on behalf of myself and from EvoSys, thank you everyone who's attended and given us 45 minutes of your time today. There will be more webinars coming, so stay tuned for the next series, which will launch in the new year now. Phil, have you got any other closing comments?
Just to say again, thank you very much, Liz. It's really nice to hear from a good partner as Open University have been over the last 5 years, and we look forward to progressing that with you. Thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, thanks very much, Phil, and thanks everyone. I hope it's been of some value to you. Thank you.
Yeah, have a nice rest of the day, everybody. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you on the next webinar. Thank you very much.